Hello, welcome to Clay to Canopy, the show where I attempt to make everything from the ground up. In this episode, I am super excited because I am going to experiment with making a lamp with items that I found at the 99-cent store. Sounds crazy, right? I went shopping and found some items there. I found these two terracotta pots that I thought would work as like really cool bases. And then I found a plastic bottle, drinking bottle, and this was some cleaner that I thought had just a really cool bottle. Basically what I'm going to do here is I will be taking these apart, stacking these bottles, installing electrical features, and then to top them off, I think this one I'm probably just going to put the electrical outlet directly on top, whereas this one I think it needs like something to kind of cap it off. And so at Home Depot or Lowe's or your local hardware store, you can find these flooring samples to test out, what your floor to look like. And I have some different ones that I picked up, but I think for this particular one, I'm going to probably go with this guy. But they come in all different colors. They're really cool. You can get them in different finishes. And they do have these tabs on here, but I'm going to be showing you how to cut that off. Now, some of the other things I'll be needing, aside from my bottle that's now across the room, will be your electrical parts. And you can get these really cheap these days. I mean, you could also take apart an old lamp, but you definitely, if you're going to be dealing with anything electrical, make sure you consult an electrician or, do some research. I am not an authorized electrician. I just like making things. For this particular one, I'm going to be using a regular standard size bulb. This is made out of porcelain and it comes apart, but you can also get these candelabra size ones. You also need a cord. You have the option to get your lamp cord. This comes already done up, and these I bought that have the switch on them. The only downfall to purchasing one that has the switch on it already is you have less control over the length of where the switch is to the actual end of the wiring. Anyhow, it's much cheaper if you order parts separately. So like, you order the base fixture, order your cord separate versus ordering one of those lamp kits. But if you'd like to save yourself the trouble, you can certainly just order a lamp kit. I've seen them at IKEA. You can get them on Amazon. To finish up everything, I'm also going to need a drill to be drilling into these parts. Because this is ceramic, these are terracotta, I am going to need bits that can drill through. I've already done one here in a bit. I'm going to do that for you, but you'll need some mason bits for the sake of drilling through the terracotta or drill, and then a regular drill bit if you are drilling into your plastic bottles and such. And then some paints that you're going to use to finish it all up, and some glue, which I forgot to put on the table, but I will grab in a second. Alright, so I'm going to get started. And the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to drill a hole into the bottom of your base safely without cracking your terracotta. So before I begin drilling, I'm just going to take some of this blue painter's tape and put it over the spot that I know I want to drill. This is going to help with not getting too much surface chipping. And then I have 3 different size bits that I've been working with. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this smaller bit to pilot a small hole, and then I will gradually stage up to going between all 3, back and forth, and the small bit will eventually be my indicator when I've hit through into the piece itself. That way I know where to stop and I can meet that resistance and know how far I'm going. This is going to be a very slow going process. You don't want to rush this. If you try and put too much force on it, you're going to crack the terracotta. So the best thing to do is just to let the bit do the work for you and just kind of go along with it. This will generate quite a bit of dust, so you probably want to be wearing a mask as well as some safety glasses. looking like I'm through, so I'm just gonna let it. Size that last bit. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is drill a hole through the bottom end of this bottle, and it has this little indentation from where the casting happened. I might not actually try to go directly through that center point. I might just do it off to the side. Honestly, it's not going to really matter that much since this is going to be mounted on top of it. And as long as this is centered, if it has to kind of kick to the side to go in, it'll be perfectly fine. I can be done with my mason bits, and I'm just going to use a regular drill bit here. It's almost the same size as that mason bit, and if I can't go through the center again, I'll just kind of tip it to the side. Now with this guy, I want to do this way, so I'm going to drill my hole also from the bottom, even though I'm mounting this upright. It just seems like a more natural flow of what a lamp should be. So what I did grab was some liquid nails and my trusty super glue that I'd like to use that has with my Instaset. The reason why I have both is because I do not trust this super glue as being my main hold, but since I'm trying to do this as one of my quick projects, I don't want this to stretch out for days while I'm waiting for glue to dry, and I want to be able to paint this thing right away. The liquid nails is going to be the strong glue that for the long term will actually do the work. So I'll be applying that, but then I'm going to just do a fast set with the super glue so that it will hold it while I'm painting it up. And the Instaset works as a chemical reaction as long as you get it on there fast enough. So what I could do is spray the base of this with the Instaset and then put the super glue on here, and then once the two meet, we should be good. It should form a fairly quick bond. This is going to look a little messy, but I think I'll try and pipe this on the inside and then put the super glue just a little bit on the edges of the outside, on the rim. Okay, so the next move for me is before I do a full-on spray paint of the final color, I'm going to give it a primer coat of just this plain black spray paint. So for the green bottled lamp, after the black coat of primer went on, I ended up going with this metallic soft iron speckled looking spray paint. For this guy, I think this has more, the shape of this bottle has more of a traditional kind of feel to it. So I'm going to go with this brush on bronze effect that I have. Both the soft iron, which really looks more like a chrome to me, but both that chrome and this bronze, when it naturally would patina, it will have a black undertone. So I'm okay. That's why I sprayed them both with black first, so that if any of that kind of comes through, it's not that big of a deal, because naturally as that color would have patinaed and weathered, it would have that black undertone. That you think that you wanted to, especially with this bronze, that it's a little too heavy, you can just come in with a rag and just take off some of the paint before it dries. I'm going to really give it more of that brushed look. Alright, I'm going to set that aside, let it dry, and then move on to the next bit. Alright, so after the paint went on, I decided that I was actually not too fond of putting this wood pattern on top of this colored gray. So I'm still going to keep this and use this for this guy. But for this one, I'm just going to take a piece of scrap plywood, cut a little circle insert that is a little bit more fitted into here, and I'll use that instead. But let me show you first how, if you are going to use these pre-made bits, how you can easily take this off. If you don't have a saw, you could just use your handy dandy pocket utility blade and just come in. It's going to take some doing and some scoring several times before you get to where you want it to be. But this is just to get rid of that little excess bit of where the floor tile joins the next floor tile. And then you should be able to, if you slowly work it, slice into the actual wood part of that fiber without cracking it. And it should split with the grain. You are going to have to do some sanding once this happens, but alright, so there's that. Then you can just take a little piece of sandpaper, sand up the edges. It should be fitted nice. And then also, after I sand up the edges, I'm going to go ahead and paint the edges of these and the bottom side so that the only thing exposed is that nice wood on the top. So that's that. And now I am going to flip this over and trace out a circle. I have found these tiny little pieces of plywood at the 99-cent store, and you can certainly try and hand cut this with a razor if you do not have a tool, a larger saw to do that. It is a very big pain, but it is possible. Cutting through this sheet of plywood, pretty soft if you buy the craft version and not the kind of glue-on that you get at Home Depot. So it shouldn't be any worse than taking off the edge of that. Here, let's see if I'm right in stating that. I'll do a little bit of it. Oh yeah, it's pretty soft enough for you to work at it if you needed to. But in this shop, I do have a bandsaw, and that's where this is headed. So I'm going to go do that really quick, and I will be back with a circle. Alright, well, that chunk of flooring was driving me nuts that it wasn't a square. So I went and used my chop saw and cheated a bit because I needed it to be a square because, yeah, it was driving me nuts. But you certainly could have left it this way. You know, if you're low tech and you don't have many tools, go about it as best as you can. And then after I did that, I went and sanded down the edges so that it's ready for a good paint. And then with that circular piece, it did occur to me that you can find these already cut circles at the craft store. They're not expensive at all. They come in circles, ovals, all different sizes. You could just get a square one if you didn't want to use one of these free tiles, or a round one, whatever your setup is going on. Again, these are 99-cent store finds, so you gotta work with like whatever you found that was cool to use. What I do need to do, and this is the reason why I'm selecting wood, is I need to attach these nipples into these wood pieces and use these little nuts to kind of bolt them in place and hold that on, because what's going to happen is once the nipple's running through either one of whichever piece you go with, you're going to then screw that onto your fixture with the wiring running through so it's nice and neat. The first step is to get this nipple affixed onto the piece of wood so that it stays in place. Having this will be handy because I can make sure that the hole's drilled in the center, my fixture looks nice and straight and even. Because this is a nice finished wood, to avoid tear out on this one, I am just going to take a piece of that painter's tape, get it on here, and I have a scrap piece of wood with me so that I can just make sure I drill into that and not my, even though this is a very crappy top at this point, but I still don't want to go drilling holes into it because I can make my main workbenches last a little longer. I'm just going to eyeball where I think the center is. You probably should measure, but you know, we're winging it today, right? Alright, and I've selected a bit that is close in size to the nipple here. with a little bit of play, but not larger than what these nuts are, so that the nut can actually hold itself. So here we go. My battery's dying. She's a draining. Let's move it. Probably should measure. Grab a bit of sandpaper. Knock off some of those edges. Thinking about acrylic painting these, and you certainly could just use a basic acrylic paint, but I feel like I need to hurry this along today. This was supposed to be a quick project, and as always, this is taking 5 times longer than I originally anticipated. So I am going to retape just the wood side to protect it from my spray painting. I'm going to take this back over and hit it with a spray paint really quickly. Alright, be back. Alright, I think it's time to move on to the next step. So this guy, I'm going to go ahead and, now I don't have a lot of space underneath where this is going to sit, so I have to make sure that my nut's backed out pretty far before I get that second one on. And I'm just going to hand tighten this guy on. Once I have done that, I have to remember not to remove this, because I'm going to glue this in place so that I can get all of my wiring through. And once it's glued in place, I don't want to go messing around with it, because, you know, then I'd have to remove the whole thing and it would just be a big pain. So, okay. I think before I do that, I'm going to run the wire up and through so I know it's there. See if we can get this done with one shot without too much fuss. I think in the end I might be better off shooting down a wire from the top and pulling through, but we'll see. Alright, I'm gonna go grab just some wire to stick in that I can then yank up. So you could probably do this maneuver with string as well. The issue is that I have a fairly large size hole at the bottom, but at the top it is too small coming through. So you want to feed the wire or string down the side that is the smaller and through. I will now tie it around that and hopefully up and out. Come on, there we go. Alright, here we go. Not going to have such an issue with that one, hopefully, knock on wood, because the opening is actually larger at the top in this case, so hopefully that should be no issue. Alright, that's going to get fed through that so that I can deal with my wiring in a moment. Let me separate that. Less likely for them to go astray. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue this guy in place. Now I get super glue all over my hands? Of course it did. Why wouldn't I get super glue all over my hands? Let's set this one aside and give it a minute to set up. For that one, I'm gonna go with the brown cord. Again, should measure. Hole's not even. No jinxing. Come on now. It's supposed to be easier. There we go. Totally tell that that is not even. Kind of reminds me of like old school telephone or something. It's really kind of cool. I'm digging this one. Alright. On to the wiring. Each socket is probably going to be different depending on the manufacturer and the type that you buy. Follow the directions of the manufacturer and make sure, as I said before, you ask a licensed electrician for advice, not crazy YouTubers like me. Alright, let's find some bulbs. Alright, I'm gonna run a cord, see if I can light these bad boys and see what happens. Alright, I got the wiring all set up and here we go. Huzzah! I have light. That is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode and hope to see you back here soon. Thanks for watching.